Welcome to Podula Rasa. I'm David Blank.
And I'm Jim Esch.
This is a podcast about finding something in nothing. This is Dave. In this podcast, my son and I have a discussion about the world and his place in it during these very interesting times. At the end of the podcast, you'll hear Stasha's composition, Rainy Days, which I grabbed from SoundCloud. It's December 31st, 2020. This will be the first episode of Podula Rasa, Season 2, Episode 1. It's my great honor to interview my son, Stasha Blank, who is home for the first time since February, visiting all of us here in New Hampshire. Thanks to the pandemic, we weren't able to see each other since February, which really kind of sucked. And so it's great to have him here. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
A couple of days ago, we had a conversation how you see the world based on the point in your life where you are right now, being in your first career post-college and succeeding wildly there as you did in college. And so I guess my question to you was, well, how do you define success? You're basically at a point in your life that I maybe was at 32 years ago when you were born. Of course, I didn't have the same success that you're having now, but I think I was still in that frame of mind of not sure how I would define success at that point. And I think that I define it much differently now than I did then.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's very true for me too. I've given a lot of thought, especially recently since we've been talking about it, but it's very difficult to define success. And I feel like the definition changes a lot even as you grow and as your life circumstances change. Like, I don't think I would have, given the same answer necessarily even a couple months ago than, what I think right now. So it's a tough question.
What do you think your answer was a couple of months ago?
I think being sort of on track to continue my work goals and really sort of striving to get a promotion. Like, my mind was completely focused on work. So to me, that measure of success was, well, can I actually prove myself? Can I achieve the next goal that I'm, really striving for? Can I, meet all the goals that I've set for myself with regards to work? But I think, after having achieved that, I don't know if it gives me that sense of success. I mean, it definitely is something that I'm proud of, but looking forward, it seems to define less of what I want in life than, it did back then.
Do you think that the pandemic helped you to focus yourself towards that goal?
It definitely did. Because, I've been working remotely from my apartment since basically the second or third week of March up until, when I came home for the holidays. So that gave me a ton of time to really kind of buckle down and get things done, not having any outside distractions of any kind, even just, going to work in of itself. There can be a few distractions there as well. So it definitely gave me a lot of time to focus, which was nice. I do appreciate that.
Do you think that moving forward, you would rather not have that time to focus? Are you looking forward to things opening up? Or, I guess who wouldn't be, but do you think that will help you to define what your options might be going forward? For those listeners who don't know, Stasha's an engineer at Google in San Francisco, and he's got an incredible apartment that overlooks the Bay Bridge. It's a pretty amazing place, but for the past 9 months, you haven't been able to leave it very much.
Yeah. I like it there. It's nice, but it does get a little old looking at the same, four walls and not being able to leave them. It's I love the space a lot, but again, it's, just being completely isolated for so long, it definitely it gets old.
So would you say that maybe a year ago you would define success as achieving what you've achieved? You went through college and you achieved, excellent grades the whole way through. And so that was I know you felt that was a major achievement. I remember sitting with you when your final grades came in after your last semester. And it was, I could tell you were incredibly proud of what you had done. So now you've translated that into this career and you've been promoted really fast. But given all the things that we've just talked about, do you think that your feeling of success would be tied to the next promotion mostly, or is there something else that you would strive to achieve in your life just overall?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question too, because I think a year ago or a little while ago, I probably would have thought that yes, once I get this promotion, I'm going to be focused on getting the next one. It's going to take a while, but that's going to be my vision for the future. But I think having gotten that and sort of going through the emotions of actually like getting to that new point and realizing what that means and understanding like what's next in my life, I've sort of realized that like it definitely is a goal for my future. I do want to continue, the trajectory that I'm on, but at the same time, like I don't think it's the most important thing to me anymore. I think I really kind of want to like take a step back and start focusing on other things, because I've noticed that like I've been completely focused on work and that's been great, but it's sort of taken a toll on like on everything else. It's completely like absorbed my focus and all of my attention, and like I haven't really had time to dabble in music or just kind of explore the outside world at all. And I mean, of course, that's been influenced by the pandemic too, but I feel like there's that component of my life that's lacking that maybe I need to focus more on, instead of just continuing like laser focused on my career goals.
When it comes to music, what would you like to see in your future?
Yeah, no, I'd like to spend more time with it. I don't know if it'll ever come to anything or really be realized in any tangible fashion, but I'd really like to spend more time actually just being creative, which is sort of a sentiment that I've seen with friends of mine who are sort of at a very similar stage in their life and their careers, where they feel like they spend 95% of their lives consuming things, and really they want to spend more time like being creative and sort of doing something, even if it doesn't really result in anything. Mm-hmm. Just actually taking the time to explore that other side of things.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that, as you know, I play guitar and a few other instruments, and sometimes a very long time will go by and I don't pick up an instrument at all, and then other times I'm just drawn to them and focused on being creative, and it's almost like a compulsion. But those times sometimes are very far between each other. Like some people that I know who are very musically inclined just do it constantly, and they're always involved in something. And for me, there's this, it's very quantized. There's a
right.
So much so that when I almost surprise myself when I pick up a guitar and I do something and I think, wow, I couldn't do that a year ago, even though I might not have even played for a year. But
right, yeah.
I recognize the difference in my ability. It just seems to happen almost without anything else. Like there's no reason for it. I think if you're inclined to do more music, you should absolutely incorporate that as part of what you do, especially when you go back, in a week or so, you're back in that routine again. You got to make time for stuff like that. You can't work from dawn till dusk all the time, although I'm sure the company would prefer that you did.
Right, of course they would.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that's really true. Making time for it is definitely super important, and I think I'm a lot like you in the sense that I sort of have these bursts of creativity. I can't necessarily sustain it consistently throughout the year, but sometimes I'll feel inclined to do something. And I think it really does kind of correlate with the moments in my life where like I'm less stressed and I have less going on, and like I feel like I have time for just doing whatever. Like I noticed while being home, like I've been on vacation, so I haven't been checking in with work really at all, maybe once or twice, but aside from that, I've been completely just kind of relaxing and enjoying my time. And since having started that, I feel like I'm actually kind of getting back into that mindset. Not that I've been like writing anything, but I've just sort of been thinking about like, oh, what could I do when I'm back in San Francisco and I have my equipment again, like maybe I'll start making something.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's tied to sort of my mindset and kind of like where I'm at currently. And so I agree that it's really important to kind of make sure that that's a focus.
Maybe if you tie it to something else, you might be more likely to do it more regularly. A couple of months ago, I discovered Reddit, which is just pathetic when you think about it. It was like literally only a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And I saw these people who were just, live broadcasting, doing music. Like they really had no plan. They were just doing it. And I think that actually spurred me on during a lull with doing this podcast. Like in terms of being creative, I think Jim and I have been doing this for a lot longer than I've ever done anything. And maybe that helps to have a partner in that respect, but anything creative like that, there's always a break. And this has been pretty much constant in one way or another, at least in terms of planning. So anyway, I think that if you like maybe started live broadcasting yourself. I mean, there's this one guy who's got one of those pads that you have, with the buttons.
Oh yeah, the launch pads. Yeah.
The launch pad, and you don't really see him or anything because it's night wherever he is. And but I've seen this guy a couple of times, and you can just see there's movement and there's a person there, and he's just got all these things around him, and he's just making music, and it's really beautiful.
Right.
And obviously he enjoys it. So just a suggestion. And tell me so I can tune in.
Yeah, of course. No, it's a really good one. I think you're right. I think just kind of like not even having a goal, but just kind of like setting aside time to literally just like play around with it, and try to make something, and just have a good time with it. I think that's really important.
Just in life, that's important. And you have to. If you don't have that, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. And I'm not saying it has to be something artistic, but if that's what you want to do, you should go for it. And you're in a city where once it opens up, and it will open up, they can't keep you down forever. I think there's going to be a renaissance of activity going on. And if you're in the city, you should go find those things and participate in them. I mean, if I were there, I have friends who are in San Francisco, and I think if I were there, I'd be going to poetry readings or things like that. When I was younger, maybe, but probably now too. You should avail yourself of that stuff and see where it leads.
Definitely.
And definitely get some good fried chicken. What's the name of that restaurant? We should give them a plug for the 47 listeners, two or three of whom are in San Francisco. What's the name of the restaurant?
Right. I think the place is called San Tung. It's like Outer Sunset, part of the city. Super kind of small hole-in-the-wall place, but they make like the best Chinese fried chicken I think I've ever had.
I can attest to that.
And you can attest to that, yeah.
Because we had it for Thanksgiving last year when we came to visit you.
That's right.
As part of our feast. And oh my gosh, was it awesome. I think it was most like General Tso's chicken maybe, but really, really good General Tso's chicken.
Right, exactly. Like super crispy, super delicious. Yeah, I'll have to get some when I'm back, assuming I could figure out if they actually do delivery.
Yeah, cool. Or you could learn how to make it. That would be creative.
That's true. That's very true.
So how has it been for you being away from the city, being away from your normal routine? Have you found it relaxing, like more relaxing or different from how you would have expected? I
did kind of expect that it would be very different, but I think even with that expectation, it sort of surpassed it because, I mean, I like for the past 9 or 10 months, I've literally just been in the same spot. And I think just sort of breaking that mold and stepping outside of it and traveling to, I mean, a place that I, of course, know and I've lived in for a long time, but a place that's different from like my current reality was really helpful. Like it has allowed me to completely step back from work and not even think about it. I mean, the problem with taking vacations or breaks while I was in San Francisco is that, even if I had, 5 days off or a week or whatever, I was always thinking about work because that's, I'm in the spot that I'm doing my work in all the time. And there really was no escape from that. So, it just wasn't productive. And I felt like if I did take any time off, I really wanted to do it in a spot where I know that I wouldn't be thinking about it constantly. And that I could have sort of that complete break because after so long of not having that, it just, the vacations start to mean nothing.
Well, how does this compare to, in terms of your sense of relaxation, to having when you went to Japan on vacation?
It's a totally different thing. I mean, I think Japan was less relaxing. I mean, it was refreshing, but it was more of just kind of a fun adventure. Like, we were still going out and doing things every day, and like totally, being completely tired by the end of it. So we went for 2 weeks. It was a long time to be in another country and to be completely like in tourist mode the whole time. So here it's totally different. I can actually like shut my brain off and not think for a few days, which is really nice. And plus see family again. I mean, I haven't been home in again like 10 months, so it's been a really long time. Sort of the combination of being home again, seeing family, and like also being able to completely unwind has been really helpful. More so than I even thought it was going to be. And I was looking forward to it and expecting that it would be great, but it's been really nice.
Well, I'm glad. That's good. That's good. It's been good to have you back. We're gonna miss you for sure when you leave. But when I drove you to the bus station in February of this year,
right?
I didn't think it was going to be so long until we saw you again.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. I think you guys had plans to come out in like May, and that was before we had any idea that any of this was going to happen.
Yeah, we were going to go see Hamilton. We had tickets, and then this happened. So who knows if that'll open up again someday?
Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting to see what the new normal is once we get back to whatever it is. When you think about the number of restaurants that have closed and will never reopen, or at least what they're saying, something like 60% of businesses that were closed will not reopen. That changes the landscape pretty dramatically. But maybe it opens up opportunities for other people, or for people who were doing these businesses to go do something else or reinvent themselves.
It's true. I think it's done that for a lot of people. I mean, sadly, a lot of people have like lost their jobs because of this. I mean, restaurant related or not. I mean, I have a couple of friends who've been seeing some tough times, and I think while that's terrible and I feel bad, at the same time, maybe this will be an opportunity to try something new or start a different path or just kind of break the mold, and hopefully in a good way.
It's just that there's a lot of people who will be doing it at the same time. But I agree with you. Right. I totally agree with you. I think in my career, which as you know has been quite varied, every time something ended, it opened up a new opportunity. Sometimes those things can be quite stressful, even if they are better off in the end.
It's very true.
I almost feel like really guilty for doing what I do, because it opened up, period of time has opened up a tremendous amount of opportunity for me in terms of more classes to teach, more students to work with, more. And I look, you watch the news. When I used to do that, I don't do it anymore. But when I did, you just see stories of people losing everything. And it may be more charitable, but it's still hard to watch. And while at the same time feeling like I'm taking advantage of these things that are happening, or having Tosh and your sister home for much of the year was incredible. I was really used to being alone in the house, just me and the cat, and for 5 days of the week. The weekends were much different. And then this happened, and it was for me personally, it was actually kind of good.
Yeah. I totally know the feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was the same for me. Like, I don't think there was necessarily anything, improvement-wise that resulted from the pandemic for me. But, at the same time, like, I still had job stability. I could still continue to do what I was doing. I didn't have to worry about my current situation or, where food was going to come from or how I was going to pay rent. I feel very lucky for that.
Well, you got to always count your blessings when you see them.
That's true.
Because they can go away. As Tom Williams said, and he's a frequent theme in our show. But as he said, something really good could happen, and something really bad can happen, and you never know which it's going to be. You hope for the better stuff, but it can get crappy fast. So So even though things have changed dramatically in this country, it's some things have gotten better. And I think maybe when it's all over, some things will stay better. For example, you may be able to continue doing what you do remotely, which would open up a lot of opportunities for you. And I'm not pushing for you to move to Boston, although it would be great.
Right.
But when you have those opportunities, like a lot of people who were never really allowed to work from home, all of a sudden we're working from home, and guess what? The work was still getting done. And
Right.
they don't need to be monitored and watched over. I mean, that's how it used to be not too long ago. And now people are actually trusting that other people are doing what they're doing. So if there's anything that, if there's a better sense of trust between people that comes out of at least some of this, then that's a great thing. I think for humanity, maybe in an overall sense.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, I think you should work on your music and do things with it. I still have that page linked for where you used to put music when you were at RIP.
Oh, my old SoundCloud.
Yeah, you should do more of that because you had some good stuff. And
Yeah, I've definitely been thinking about that. At least it's just sort of to really like formalize it, give it like an actual meaning, to put stuff out there, even if nobody listens to it. It doesn't matter, just to have it out there,
Yeah.
So I agree. I think I'm going to try to start doing that.
Good. I'm glad to hear it because it adds a new dimension, or maybe a recurring dimension. I don't know. Like music is with me.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Stosh, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This has been awesome.
It's great to see you in person and also on Zoom.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
But I appreciate your perspective on things, and hopefully I'll talk to you again in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'll talk to you
Great.
anyway, but on the show. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks. And I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.